Hello, I am today talking to you after 3-4 inches of snow, something like that, and it's actually warm enough to be outside. It's 27, which is, I don't know, might be -5, something like that, probably -2 Celsius. So let's walk. Today, a theme came up with my clients this week that I thought that I'd talk a little bit about. I was talking to a couple clients about the zone of confidence, which is what I work with a lot, and one of them asked, why do I want to, what if I just want to keep my zone of confidence where it is? And it's a really important question. I find that, my first work with any clients is figuring out where their zone of confidence is. That's where they are able to meet activation and still keep their wits about them, so to speak, and not switch into functional freeze or rage, or on the other side of it, to not switch into just complete dullness and shut down. And so when I work with people to find out where that threshold is, both thresholds, the bottom and the top, so to speak, and to then work within that space. And then what we do, I'll circle back around to why we'd want to, is we work within those thresholds and nudge the edges so that we can expand our capabilities where we can handle things without kind of losing our faculties one way or the other and losing our balance. And a lot of us think that we have our balance when we don't. A lot of us, full disclosure, most of the people I work with have a lot of trauma, and most of the people that I resonate with have a lot of trauma, and so my view is skewed. But there's a decent possibility that if you're watching this, listening to this, you might resonate with this. If you've, a lot of us think that we are working within our window of tolerance, zone of confidence, capacity, when really, most of the time, we are outside of it. We're pretending to ourselves and everybody else and doing a really good job, right? We're all functioning, and that is the whole point. That is why, that is just an example of how awesome we are as an organism, that we've figured out, each individually, we've figured out how to do this. I have all kinds of feelings about the fact that our society, our parents, our whatever, shouldn't ever ask that of us, and that goes into anger, and that's great and wonderful and something that I work with people. But in actuality, what I'm working with is what's showing up in the moment for them. I'm going to lose my breath because I am the first person to walk this trail since it started snowing yesterday morning. So I'm breaking trail, so to speak. So first we figure out what somebody's capacity is. And then we work within it to remind the nervous system that it's possible to work within capacity. And then, and some people, that's really hard. And so we just keep gently suggesting to the nervous system, we being somebody's, kind of brain and me, partnering together to kind of suggest to somebody's nervous system that it can stop being in survival mode all the time, and that there's a different way to exist. I don't want to say better, because that survival mode has kept us alive, and that is point blank the point of it. But perhaps there's another way, and in these times, it's hard. It's hard to even talk about that and like talk about it with a straight face. And in reality, as long as we're not looking at the news all the time, as long as we are in our bodies, in our homes, going about our daily lives, most of us are okay. Most of us don't need to be in survival mode all the time. So that's task number 1. And that is actually the thing that I do the most, is working within capacity with someone, helping their nervous system just go up and down, and focusing on the down, because most of us are very good at going up and not so great at going down. And that is activating and settling. And the other thing that I do, and I find that I don't do it quite as often, because when I have somebody in front of me, there's always like, what's happened during the week. And the reason that we work with something that's happened recently is because it wouldn't have gotten to them if it didn't tug or trigger something from the past. So I always feel like I'm working with the past as well as the present. And in completing a loop of activation and settling in the present with something that is touching the past, we're actually doing a little bit of healing. And so I consider my kind of, it's not even every day, just the work with people when we're just working within their capacity and working with what's happened recently. It often touches on the past, and then we work on the past. But we're always healing stuff. We're always resolving stuff. And some of it's really big, and some of it is fairly small, and we're eking away at complex trauma, which is the best way to work with complex trauma. And somatic experiencing was kind of created initially with the thought towards how to work with shock trauma, single incident trauma. And so that's there as well. I mean, it all the principles work. Like there's a reason that I work mostly with complex trauma, because it all works, and there's nuance to it, right? But it can be foundationally changing, fundamentally shifting to work with shock traumas. And it's kind of fun and interesting and exciting to do that, to get a chance to do that. And I don't go looking for them, but when they come up, we work on it. And that could be something that is stuck in the body that we don't know what it's related to. It could be something from, today reminded your system of that one time, right? So we often get into it the same way that we get into all the complex little things. It's not little things over time, but each individual thing in complex trauma is often small when taken alone. But it builds up to be devastating to the system, and that's why long-term work is really good for a lot of people. And with those shock traumas, sometimes one session is enough to settle stuff around one particular thing. And I've seen that actually happen twice this week, which is wild, because I often don't work with shock trauma unless it comes up. And so it happened to come up a couple times this week, and that was pretty cool. and so I thought that I'd make sure that I enunciate that although I really enjoy working long-term with people over complex trauma and developmental trauma, working with the nervous system, working with the zone of confidence and their capacity to hold more and gradually expand and grow more space to be in this world that is upending, without instead getting smaller and smaller within themselves. Sometimes working on those shock traumas can release a big chunk that we didn't know was there. And it's really fun to do that. And I say fun, it's fun for me when I hit on shock traumas with my own practitioner. So it's not just fun as a practitioner. All of this healing work is hard and to some degree painful. And I have found personally that you get to a certain point where it's just like such a relief. And it's so fascinating for me. So I don't mean that just as like a practitioner that's futzing around in somebody's nervous system. It's actually fun for me to work with my own shock traumas too. So I just wanted to share that there's several facets to my work, but working with complex trauma over time and capacity building, which is also the capacity to feel joy and comfort and love and support. And that is what I was able to help that client see today or the other day, 3 days ago or something like that, that we build capacity not just so that we can handle the hard stuff better, but so that we can be present for the good stuff. And then we can work with shock traumas, single incident traumas, and just smooth that over so that things don't relate to that as much.